you like to drive around and talk about the latest happenings, this is the channel you need. So subscribe and follow Carmentary.
Hello there, folks. How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Carmentary. As always, Neil Hartmann here, driving in my car, talking about stuff. All right, it's a beautiful day. Kind of a late season spring snowstorm has arrived in Hokkaido. The mountains have been refreshed with another layer of snow. It's not that cold. It's about, it's actually like plus 4 Celsius right now as I drive towards Niseko. But the mountains still quite cold as we go into spring here. I got a comment on one of my last Carmentary episodes. That episode was about the coronavirus situation. Corona Hokkaido update, I believe, was the title of the podcast. But the comment I received had nothing to do with the topic. And it was a great comment, and it had a question. So I thought today I would try to answer that question because, like you, I'm sure we need to talk about other stuff besides you know what. Let me see if I can read this comment here. Sorry, got to take off my sunnies. From McHonky. Thank you for the comment, and thank you everybody who's sending in comments recently. Deliberately off topic. What can a creative photo professional look forward to as he might enter into spring and summer in Hokkaido? Great question. I like that. That gave me food for thought, actually. I had to think about that for a little while before I could press the record button. Hokkaido is the northernmost island of Japan. Here in Sapporo, North 43 is where we are on the planet. And big island, so I mean geographically there's differences between the southern end of Hokkaido and the northern end of Hokkaido. So spring can have quite a different meaning depending on where you're at. But we'll talk in a general sense. It is, to me, one of the harder seasons to get out there and capture really good creative photos and video, whatever. Spring is an in-between kind of season. I think, winter in Hokkaido is so dramatic, so stark. You have white with blue sky, or if it's a stormy bad weather day, you can have white and gray tone. It's like a black and white scene. You don't even have to put your camera into a black and white mode. You can just look at it and be like, oh, this is going to be an amazing black and white photograph. So in winter, landscape photography seems to come so easy in Hokkaido. And in autumn as well, I think anywhere that you have a lot of changing colors of the leaves, and if you live in that kind of a zone, it's so colorful, it's so bright, there's so much to look at and enjoy that it's easy to pull out the camera and start taking good photographs. So when it does get brown, everything gets dirty, the snow is melting, it's muddy, it can be a challenging time to pull out the camera. I have found that if I go back through my personal photography catalogs, and sometimes I get a request for certain photos that would fall into that category. Someone, do you have anything that a real springtime photo? If it's a photo somehow related to snowboarding and mountains, I have quite a few of those. It's spring snow. I enjoy getting out in the mountains, and Hokkaido has a really long spring ski and snowboard season. I would say from right now, mid-March, all the way through mid-April, mid-May, when the lifts stop running. We have a long holiday here in Japan called Golden Week, It's around the 11th, 12th, 13th of May, and that is usually when the larger ski resorts try to stay open till. A lot of people have their vacations. They'll come out, have one last ski or snowboard before putting everything away for the season. And that time of year can be very inspiring. You've got, this slushy, corn snow up on the mountains, beautiful weather, and then you can come down to the parking lot and there'll be cherry blossoms blooming, in or around the parking lot of the ski resort. So, that is I love that. I mean, that's pretty easy to take photographs, and I think that's something that, you may want to come and experience. The cherry blossoms bloom very late here in Hokkaido, obviously, because of the temperature. We're so far north that at the earliest, it's usually around that holiday Golden Week, mid-May. If it's a cold, late spring, they'll bloom later into May, and they'll completely miss that holiday. So that can be a little tricky as well. So when we talk about spring in Hokkaido, even though it's like an in-between season, and you try to think about it as a short moment in between winter and summer, it's actually quite long. So if you look at it in a negative way and go, there's nothing to take photos of in spring, you're in for a long haul. So definitely have to get your mindset right. And one thing I like to do in spring is you gotta look at things in the macro, especially with a camera. You can pull out your macro lens, whether it's a 50 millimeter macro. I have a 90 millimeter macro that I use a lot for my Sony, or even just a good 50 millimeter lens with a wide open aperture, like a 1.4, or even like a real good zoom lens, like a 200 millimeter. I have a 100 to 400 millimeter Sony that is an f4. It's pretty bright. You can get out there with a lens like that, and you can really focus in on details. And I think that might be something I've done unconsciously over the years. But now that I'm thinking about it, it seems to make more sense. In the winter or in the fall, when you have all these colors and you have these amazing dramatic landscapes, it's very easy to pull out the wide angle lens, step back, get that wide shot, the shadows that cast across these amazing snow-covered landscapes, the colors that are just, whole hillsides just covered in yellow and orange and red. Of course, it's going to look amazing. In the spring in Hokkaido, I think we need to focus in on the details. The little flower that's the cherry blossom that's just about to come out. The tree branch with the fresh leaves coming out. These little details are what is really special about spring. It's this reemergence of life, and if you can get in there and look at those details, I think, this goes for anywhere. This isn't just Hokkaido, but maybe if you live in a desert, that's something you don't get to enjoy. Here we have, vast spaces covered with trees and forests. There's a lot of, greenery, right? And all of that greenery is going to come out and whoosh. So I think that's one thing you could look forward to or focus on if you were going to come to Hokkaido in the springtime, would be to really get in on those details. There's one other thing that I really enjoy. It's a brief moment in spring as the snow melts. There's this moment that lasts about I would say at the shortest maybe 2-3 days, at the longest maybe a week. And the snow levels you watch each day, the snow melts about 10 centimeters a day on a really warm day. And there's a day, like for example in my neighborhood, I drive around and I keep looking, and there'll be that one day when all the snow, basically, maybe there's like little patches left, but basically all the snow has disappeared. It's completely melted, and we see into the forest. You got big trees, and within the big trees, basically all over Hokkaido, we have the sasa, or the bamboo grass that is so prevalent here. And the sasa heights can go from about 1.5 meters up to like 2.5 meters. Some of them can be very big. And when the sasa has awoken, it's a jungle. Basically, you can't walk into the forest anymore. Once that snow has melted and the sasa lifts itself up, it's there until next winter. But there's that brief period, a couple days to about a week, when the snow has melted and the sasa are all still flat on the ground. They've been compressed down by this snow load that's been there for the last 6 months. Snow melts and the sasa, they just lay there flat on the ground as if in like this state of meditation. And the sun hits it for a couple days, and suddenly, whoa, they all wake up. That is a cool moment in spring that I always like and have observed over the years. And I don't know, it's something about it. Like, once the sasa has woken up and the jungle is arisen and you literally can't even see between the trees, no less like want to try to walk in there, it sort of cuts you off from the forest and the nature. But for that brief moment when the sasa grass is laying down and you can see into the forest, it gives you that feeling of like, oh, I could just like go for a walk into the forest in any direction. I don't have to have a walking trail. And that gives like this sort of cool sense of freedom and exploration. And in the spring, a lot of people in Japan go out and pick the sansai. Sansai is wild vegetables. In the spring, it's gyoja ninniku is a big one. Gyoja ninniku is I guess it's a wild onion. Is that what it would translate to? Wild garlic or wild onion. Ainu negi is another word for it. The Ainu people, they were big into it. It's really tasty. A lot of people go out and pick that, and that week when the sasa are still laid down and you can walk into the forest anywhere and look for these wild vegetables, that's when a lot of people are out in the forests foraging for these wild vegetables. So now that I kind of talk about this and think about it, there's a whole lot of things to do in the spring. Why I kind of started off negative, like saying spring was not very exciting. You've given me the chance to rethink spring. I appreciate that. Yeah, the emergence of greenery and life, the late cherry blossom season in Hokkaido, foraging for wild vegetables. Be careful of the bear if you do go out and forage for wild vegetables. Taking photographs of wild bear. That could be your thing. Yeah, I think there's a lot to do. I think the important thing is to get out there and look at spring in a new light. If you travel, which these days and for the next coming months and maybe year or so, it's going to be rather difficult due to the circumstances in the world right now. But if you have the opportunity to travel, even if it's a very short trip, you know, when you go someplace new and you see new things, it really makes photography so much easier, right? I think everybody has that experience. You go and you see it's fresh, it's new, you're like, oh, I gotta get a photo of this. And you get inspired. When you're in your local neighborhood and you're at home and you're on your daily routine, like I am, I drive this road all the time, it becomes monotonous and you get used to it. It's hard to get inspired to get a photo, but maybe this year is a good chance for everyone this spring to get out that macro lens or get out that zoom lens and really focus in on some of those small details. And from there, you might find something new and inspiring to capture. You know, maybe limit yourself Go out with one lens. Don't take your whole bag. Just put that one macro lens on, go out for a day and see what you can see through that lens. I like to do that, and I would advise anyone out there to give that a try. All right. I think that's long enough. Hope that helped give you some ideas, a little inspiration, and wherever you are in the world, enjoy your spring. All right, folks. I'll leave you to the rest of your day. Thanks for tuning in to Carmentary, as always. And the next edition will be the same topic in Japanese. Drive safe.
If you like to drive around and talk about the latest happenings, this is the channel you need. So subscribe and follow Carmentary.